So, hi and welcome to this session, how to live in your gift and be well paid for it. I'm going to share my screen so that we can go straight into the slides. Oh, I need to get the slides open. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Yeah, there we go. I didn't think it was going to work then, but it has. Fantastic. So I'm going to minimize. Oh, can I do this? Oh, oh. Oh no. Just escaped. I'm trying to minimize myself up in the, there we go. There we go. I'm going to go back to the beginning and play. There we go. Right, let's get started. So this session, like I said, is called How to Live in Your Gift and Be Well Paid for It. And the reason that I wanted to put this session together for you today at this time is because this is something that has been coming up a lot from the women in my community. I shared a post last week about the ways we can almost make it impossible for people to buy from us. And, you know, that really struck a chord. A lot of people were like, yes, I really resonate with this. And, you know, particularly over the past couple of weeks, I've been hearing from a lot of women who have been struggling to really feel that they are kind of bringing their full gifts to the world and be able to be kind of abundantly financially rewarded for that. So this session is going to be particularly beneficial for you if you do feel kind of stuck in this kind of soul-sucking, soul-draining 9-to-5 position. It might not necessarily be a 9-to-5, but some kind of role where sorry, I'm just going to check that I've hit the record button. Right. Oh, sorry. I just had a paranoid moment then that I hadn't hit record, but I have. Here we go. Let's get back to this. Ready? Yeah. So, like I said, sorry for that. I just had a panic that I hadn't hit record. So if you do feel stuck in a job at the moment that, you know, it doesn't feel like you're able to bring your full self to, you're doing it just to pay the bills. Maybe you used to feel that you fit in it, but it just doesn't feel like that anymore. And the people that you're working with, maybe they don't completely get you. So you really feel like you don't fit in. If you're in a position where you have your own business, but you're struggling to make the kind of money that you want to, so you've made that really bold and beautiful decision to start your own business, but you're finding it challenging to create a consistent, abundant income. Maybe you're experiencing these kind of roller coaster months in your income where, you know, you'll be doing okay and then you'll have a really bad month and it's really up and down. It feels like you can't rely on your income, or maybe you're just finding it hard to kind of get going at all with making money in your business. Or perhaps you find it challenging to reach enough people with your message. So you know, you're really passionate about what you do and what you have to share with the world, whether that's a product or a service. When people work with you or they purchase your product, they love it and you get really good feedback, but you just find you're not reaching enough people. It's like you can't make it kind of pop in your business. Or you have your own business, but you're in this place of confusion about what to offer and whether people will actually want it anyway. Okay. So you know, you're finding yourself getting stuck in this place of procrastination and confusion about, you know, what am I actually going to offer? Maybe you've got some ideas, but you find it hard to kind of get really concrete around that. And you have these doubts coming up about, well, will people actually want this? Which is stopping you from moving forwards in the most powerful way. So if any of that applies to you right now, then this session is going to help you. So what we're going to be covering are the top 3 dream stealers for unbound women in business. So if you are here on this session, you are an unbound woman, okay? Anyone in my community is an unbound woman. So these dream stealers are going to apply to you. We're going to be talking about the vital lesson we can learn from Beyonce, which will be the lifeblood of your business. And you might be surprised about what that is. We're going to talk about how to do what you truly love and make great money doing it without selling your soul. Because I know it's so important for us as unbound women to make money in a way that feels good, to make money in a way that feels we can be our true selves and not kind of have to modify ourselves to kind of fit into anyone's idea of how we should be in the world. There will be time for Q&A towards the end of the session, and because I'm going to be sharing quite a lot of information with you tonight, and I know this is such an important issue, like a really pressing issue for a lot of you right now, towards the end of the session I will be offering a way, or talking about a way you can work with me in a very specific container to help you really live in and from your gift and be able to be really well paid for it. So I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the session. So why is this important right now? Why is this so pressing? And really, I want to say your time is now. What I mean by that is there's this real sense of urgency at the moment. And I've really felt this coming through pretty much since the beginning of this year, this sense that, you know, it's time for us all as unbound women to stop messing around and kind of putting up with situations that don't really work with us, where we can't be our full selves, that we really need to start being in our gifts and sharing those gifts with the world. Because, you know, those old systems and structures that we've been operating within up until now, that, you know, we've been brought up in, those kind of patriarchal systems and structures, they are beginning to fall away. They're kind of in the death throes at the moment. And it can feel like when this is happening, when old systems and structures are falling away, it's almost like in this kind of panic around it, like panic from people who are in these old ways. It's almost like you can feel like you're getting sucked back into them. You know, sucked back into the familiar. So you may have reached a point where it's like, oh, I don't think I can kind of keep going any longer with trying to do this. Maybe you've been kind of trying to live in your gift for a while and it feels like you keep getting stuck. And it can feel tempting to fall back into the familiar. It can feel, you know, soothing to do that. It can feel comfortable. But this is the time now when we really need to be stepping into our unbound selves, you know, being really fully connected with that unbound potential that's within all of us. We need to be the pioneers who are finding new ways, like creating those new ways. And, you know, if you are on this call, whether you're on live or listening to the recording, you are one of the women who need to step forward as a leader now and, you know, be the map maker, one of the map makers for these new ways that we're going to be following. Because it really feels like we are reaching a tipping point. Okay, like I said, we're reaching this point where the old systems and structures are beginning to crumble, and at the moment it feels like there's not necessarily kind of a clear blueprint about what we're, you know, how we are going to do things differently. We know that there's this rise of the feminine, and this calling to do things differently, but it's not completely clear how, you know, how this is going to show up. But more and more women in particular are waking up to this. So it really feels like we're reaching this tipping point at the moment, which is an exciting time, but it's also very challenging. So it is time for the unbound woman to truly rise. It's time for you to truly rise. And I really feel, you know, particularly in the past few years that we've been in this place where we've been doing a lot of groundwork, you know, I've felt this, and I know from working with clients and a lot of women in my community that, you know, we have all been doing this a lot of groundwork, a lot of clearing, a lot of foundational work, beginning to get a sense of what we want to move towards. And now it is time for us to really rise and be the leaders. And, you know, when I say leader, you might kind of resist that and be like, well, I'm not a leader. But, you know, we need to find new ways. We need to define leadership differently, because I think, you know, the idea of a leader, it can be associated with the old system and structures that are falling away. So we are really building this new forms of leadership. But before we dive into everything I'm going to share with you today, let's just take a moment to breathe. Okay. So just, if it feels good where you are, just close your eyes. Just take a few deep breaths. As you're taking those breaths, take them right down into your belly, right down into your womb space, your creative center. Allowing your breath to go right down into the depths of you. And as you do that, know that, you know, this is where we want to be operating from. We don't want to be up in our heads. I'll be talking a bit more about this during the session, but we really want to be operating from our bodies, from our, you know, our creative center, our womb space. So really allowing your breath to go there. And with each breath out, just choosing to let go of anything that you need, that you don't need right now. You know, just put to one side. Anything that you don't need to be focusing on in this moment. Just clearing a space for you to receive exactly what you need to receive during this session. And choosing to be really intentional about your presence. Okay. Because you've chosen to tune into this for a reason. So just choosing to be fully present with this experience. That's good. That's good. So when you're ready, you can just open your eyes, maybe have a stretch. That's good. Let's dive in. So the number one dream stealer for unbound women in business is the clarity myth. And you might have heard me talk about this before, or you may have read one of my articles about the clarity myth. And this is where, you're not sure exactly what you want to do or offer in your business. Or maybe you're not confident that people will want what you have to offer. So, you're in this place of confusion. You're not sure how to move forward. It feels like there's all of this uncertainty. And there can be this belief that you have to have it all figured out before taking action. Particularly for women like you, really conscious women, really awake women, we can have this belief that if I don't know completely what I'm meant to be doing, if I haven't got that full knowing, that full clarity, then it can't be right. If I've just got a piece of this, but I'm not sure what it looks like completely, then, maybe this is not the right thing to be moving forwards with. Maybe I'm not fully aligned, because if I were aligned, then I would have this full, beautiful clarity. And I want to say, from my experience, and also from experience of working with hundreds of women over the past few years, this is not the case. And this clarity myth is what is keeping so many women stuck and preventing them from either starting their unbound business or moving forward with their business in the most powerful way. We can also get stuck in this what do they want thinking. Okay, what I mean by that is, rather than focusing on what turns you on, what you want, what lights you up, we are always thinking about our potential clients and focusing on what they want. Okay, so it's no surprise that this is happening, because it's kind of what we've been encouraged and we've been taught to do. Certainly, when I was starting my business, and in the early years of my business, when I was working with different coaches and mentors, one of the key questions that would come up over and over again was, think about what keeps your ideal clients up at night. Think about their pain points and focus on that. But the thing is, when we do that, we're kind of we're focusing on the externals. We're kind of looking over there, and we're trying to kind of modify and adapt ourselves to fit with what we imagine somebody else wants. So we get this layer of detachment, this layer of separation, okay, because we're focusing on someone else's experience. What I'm suggesting is that if you come back to, what is turning you on, what keeps you awake at night, what kind of gets you so excited that if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you've got all these ideas coming through, or you're in the shower and you get this idea coming through, and it's like really feel that kind of physical sense of excitement. When we start from that place, it's so much more powerful. Okay, so start from that place. There's nothing wrong with thinking about, okay, but in what are the ways that I can help my potential clients? But you always want to be starting from, is this turning me on first? Is this lighting me up? Because if you're purely focusing on what they want, and really it's not completely compelling to you, it's going to be very difficult to move forwards with it powerfully and to kind of attract people to buy from you. Okay, so I think this is an important shift that needs to happen, because when you're doing that, you're really kind of giving your power away. And certainly I experienced that for a number of years in my business, because like I said, I was encouraged to think about, well, what do they want? What would people be willing to buy? What would they be willing to invest in? And when you're starting from that place, you kind of can lose your sense of passion. So again, it's trying to figure it out from head level, whereas what you want to do is to come into your body and think, well, what am I feeling excited about? What makes me feel really good? So these are the kind of things that can keep the unbound woman stuck. Like I said, this belief that you have to have complete clarity, whereas really you learn through doing. You gain clarity as you go, and certainly that's been the case in my business and through helping many clients over the years with their businesses. It becomes clear as you go. You create the path as you go, so you just need to get started. So all of this, when you have this this sense that you need to be clear before moving forwards, you need to be completely clear before moving forwards, it can make you hold back in terms of visibility and also making offers, because you're like, oh, well, I'm not quite sure whether this is the right thing. So, you might make an offer and it's just a bit half-hearted. You might kind of share some content, but because you're not completely behind it, you're not completely in your gift, then it falls flat. Okay. So that's dream stealer number 1, the clarity myth. Dream stealer number 2 is your money shadow. What I mean by your money shadow is all the stuff you're carrying around money and self-worth. And by stuff, what I mean is, the old beliefs, the patterns, the stories, the kind of feelings that you're carrying around money and your ability to create money in the world, and your feelings of self-worth. So again, what we can do is, and this is all the stuff we're carrying around unconsciously. That's the idea, that it's in your shadow, is we're not particularly conscious of it. So it's not like we're aware of it on a day-to-day basis, but we just notice it showing up in the results we're able to create in our businesses. So that's what I mean by shadow. So, particularly in terms of money, for the unbound woman who is committed to doing things differently and creating new ways, money can be associated with all of the old systems and structures that we're trying to move away from. Okay, now things are changing, but generally when we're thinking about wealthy people, the majority of wealthy people in the world are still white, older men. So there can be this underlying belief that, okay, that's not for me. How can I be wealthy? And actually, I don't really want to be wealthy, because I don't want to be associated with those old systems and structures. They kind of repulse me. So, we can actually be repulsed by money. Like I said, it can happen consciously. And, I've certainly had conversations with women, and I've experienced this, where it can come up consciously, but this can be operating underneath. There can also be all of this stuff that we're carrying about our own self-worth. And, this really impacts on us in our business, creates this reluctance to be making offers and asking for money for what you do. It can also lead to confusion around pricing. So, this is particularly connected with self-worth, actually, because we can have this idea that when we're setting our prices, that's associated with our self-worth, rather than focusing on the value of what we have to offer and the value of our products and our services to our potential clients. We get it mixed up with our self-worth. We think so much like we're charging for ourselves. So it's like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to put a price on this. So we end up trying to second guess what people will be willing to pay. So again, it's kind of like looking over there, like externalizing the decision. So, you know, you may be speaking to a potential client, or thinking about how to price your products, and you're just thinking, wow, I wonder what would be okay to charge here. You know, what would people think of me if I charge that much? And maybe I better offer a discount. And we get into all of this second guessing, which is really, really draining. So a lot of this stuff in your money shadow comes from shame, and there can be this belief that you are flawed in some way, that there's something wrong with you. Now, if that's a belief that you carry, again, this may not be conscious. I just want to let you know you're not alone, because so many unbound women experience this, because we have been brought up in this world where we don't really fit. You know, we weren't meant to fit in the old systems, the old structures, these old organizations, because we're here to create new ways. But what that has meant is that very often, you know, we haven't felt that we fitted in with people around us, you know, in jobs, at school, you know, in all of these situations. And you can end up having this belief that you are flawed in some way. And then you have this feeling of shame. It's like, oh my goodness, there's something wrong with me. And if you're carrying that, then it's very difficult to be in your business and making offers and attracting clients, because like this energy of shame will get in the way. I think just knowing that you're not alone in that and identifying the reasons for it. It's not that you're flawed, it's that you have been living in this flawed system. So there is nothing wrong with you. There can also be this fear of what would happen if you did have everything you wanted. So, you know, if you were making this really gorgeous, abundant income, if you were wealthy, if you had everything you wanted, if you were like really compellingly visible and reaching kind of hundreds, thousands, millions of people with your work, there can be fears around the consequences of that. You know, this idea that if that were to happen, that you may be criticized by other people, judged by other people. So, you know, as unbound women, we tend to be very sensitive, and, you know, which is a gift in itself. What can also happen is that, you know, we start to really focus on, oh my goodness, but, you know, what if people did start to judge and criticize me? I would find that really difficult to handle. So we make a decision not to be that successful. And again, this is not necessarily something that happens consciously. This can all be going on under the surface. So what we need to do is to continually be bringing this out into the light, acknowledging it, kind of owning this stuff. And yeah, I do believe there's something deeply wrong with me. Just kind of acknowledging that can be very kind of healing and transformational in itself, and acknowledging the fears that are coming up. Because when you start to do that, when you shine a light on this stuff, it automatically begins to transform. And there are also tools that you can use to help with that. One of the tools that I use is emotional freedom technique, EFT. And you can certainly look on YouTube, my channel, Nicola Humber. There's lots of tapping videos there where you can tap along. But just, you know, journaling on what's coming up for you, like bringing your money shadow out into the light, is going to be immensely healing. And I say it's your money shadow. These kind of beliefs, these stories, these fears that have been holding us back are not necessarily directly related to money. Like I said, it can be related to self-worth, and there can be other areas, you know, shadow work encompasses everything, but we're focusing specifically on money here. But you know, a lot of these issues can impact our ability to create money in our businesses. Dream stealer number 3 is a perceived lack of time. This is a biggie. They're all biggies, but this comes up a lot. So maybe at the moment you're working 9 to 5, or you know, you have some kind of job where it feels like it's difficult to find the time to build your business or focus on your business. Maybe you have a family or some other obligation, and maybe you've got kids at home, and it just feels really difficult to find the time to devote to your business. And I've said perceived in the title here, which might be a bit controversial, because you might be listening and saying, well, actually, Nicola, I really do have no time. But we always have a choice about how we perceive things. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more in a moment about, you know, how when we are really truly operating from our gift, we don't necessarily need as much time as we might imagine to focus on our businesses. What goes along with this is, you know, perhaps it doesn't feel like the right time for you to be either starting your business or growing your business or focusing on your business right now. And this is something I hear a lot. You know, I hear a lot from women who are thinking about working with me or making changes in their businesses, or, you know, moving to the next level in their businesses. It's like, I would like to do that, but it doesn't really feel like the right time. Because maybe they've got some kind of life change coming up. Maybe it's a busy time with the kids. There could be a move on the cards, or, you know, maybe there's lots of other projects going on, or some travel coming up. You know, there can be all of these reasons why it doesn't feel like the right time. But spoiler alert, it's always the right time, but it kind of never feels like it. So the very nature, you know, particularly, I think this has always been the case, but it's even more true now, because we are living in these unbinding times, okay, where things are changing incredibly rapidly. So it can feel like the world is very chaotic, and that kind of collective chaos is being reflected pretty much continually in our individual lives, particularly if you're an unbound woman. You might have noticed that kind of the pace of change in your life is speeding up particularly over the past couple of years. So things can feel messy and chaotic. It feels like there's always something going on. And this is why it's always the right time, because, you know, certainly for the foreseeable future, there isn't going to be this time where everything just clears and it feels like, oh yeah, I've got loads of time and space now. Believe me, I've been waiting for that for the past couple of years. And it's not, but it's the nature of these times. So what we have to do is work with what's going on. And, you know, this is part of living in your gift, is to be able to be in your gift, even in the situations that can feel kind of chaotic and messy, and it can feel like there's a lot of upheaval and change going on. This is your time, okay? And what you'll find is when you fully move into your gift zone, less is more. Okay. So when you're operating outside of your gift zone, when you're not fully in your gift and you're trying to make it happen and you're pushing and you're striving, everything can take a lot more time, because, you know, you're operating from head level and you're trying to figure it out, and you're doing things that maybe you're not fully aligned with. So it's harder to kind of create the results that you want to. As soon as you begin to really move into your gift, you'll find that whatever you do, I'm not saying it becomes easy, because as I've said, you know, we're living in these unbinding times. So it may not be particularly easy, but you're able to be much more potent in what you do and create more powerful results from what you do. So, you know, just using this training as an example, I got the idea to do this at the end of last week. And a part of me was thinking, oh, maybe, you know, maybe I'll do this training in a couple of weeks' time or a month's time. Because I'd just come out of putting together the Unbound Women interview series and launching my Unbound You program. It's like, oh, I just don't know if I'm kind of ready to put together another training. But actually, you know, and I'm sure this will be true for you, because as an unbound woman, you're able to access this deep creativity. So you'll be getting lots and lots of ideas all the time. And that can feel a bit overwhelming in itself. You know, how do I grab hold of all these ideas? And I knew for me, if I didn't do this training right now, I probably wouldn't do it. It would be lost and I'd be on to the next thing. So I actually managed to put this together, you know, within this week. And it hasn't taken that long to do it because I'm operating from my gift zone. So when we're in our gift, we're able to do things and to manifest and to create really quickly. We develop that skill to do that. And it can also be more powerful to have less time. And I'm sure you've had this experience where maybe you've got a whole week to do something. And it's like, great, I've got a whole week to do this. And, you know, you end up doing it at the last minute anyway. Or maybe it doesn't get done at all because, you know, it wasn't that sense of urgency. And yeah, urgency is a key theme here, and not in a panicky way, but in a activating way. It's like, I need to do this now. This is really important. And, you know, when we have these little pockets of time, and I know, you know, some of you watching this have kind of children and other situations where you really have these kind of tiny pockets of time that you're able to devote to your business. But that can be incredibly potent. You're able to maintain this high potency state and be more focused when you have less time. So when we can start to see it in that way, rather than operating from this feeling of lack, or that there's not enough time, there's never enough time, it's not the right time. If we can move into this place of thinking, you know, I have the perfect amount of time for my business because there's no right or wrong. And, you know, this is the right time for me. Everything is unfolding perfectly because the unbound woman knows that everything is unfolding perfectly at all times. When we can change our perception in that way, it's very powerful. So let's just talk for a moment about Beyonce. I just want to mention Beychella. I don't know if you saw, but at the weekend, Beyonce headlined the Coachella Festival, which is in the States. And she was the first Black woman to headline that festival. And it's incredibly, like, it was an awesome performance. I'm not kind of a particular fan of Beyonce, but actually to watch her performance, it was truly like awesome in the true sense of the word. So there's a vital lesson we can learn from Beyonce. And, you know, I'd recommend kind of like checking out online if you haven't already, just watching some of her performance, because it's really a masterclass in how to bring it, you know, to really bring it to a new level. So the vital lesson we can learn from Beyonce is the alchemy of shadow integration. And the alchemy of shadow integration, it's one of the principles of living unbound. There are 5 principles of living unbound. Living in and from your gift is another one of them, which we're obviously talking about here. But what I mean by shadow integration is to really bring all of that stuff that we've been made to believe is wrong or unacceptable or shameful or disapproved of, to bring all of that into everything that we do, to bring it all out into the light, And the way that Beyonce has done this, you know, especially over the past couple of years, is she released this album, Lemonade, I think a couple of years ago, maybe it was last year. And what she did with that, because her husband Jay-Z had this affair with another woman, and they'd chosen to stay together and work through it, but she kind of brought all of that experience into her work, and in particular into this album, into her writing in this album. She kind of channeled all of that rage, all of that stuff that she could have chosen to see as shameful, and wanted to hide and kind of push down and not acknowledge. She completely brought it into all of her work. Okay. And now when you see her perform, there is such a sense of potency there. You can see it in that picture on the slide. She is just bringing everything. And the thing is, you know, when we have this belief that certain things are wrong or unacceptable or shameful, or people won't approve of them, what's happening there is that we've internalized these kind of patriarchal beliefs about how we should be in the world. So, you know, we have this kind of voice going on the whole time going, oh no, you can't show that, that's wrong, what will people think of you? Okay. Yeah, all of these beliefs about what it's okay to show, how it's okay to be, and what's not okay, you know, all of it is just so limiting and restrictive. When we integrate our shadow qualities, our shadow desires, our shadow experiences, this is when we become free. We become truly free. We become whole. You know, and look at Beyonce there in that image. You can see she's just fully being herself. She's completely whole because she has bought everything. And this can be the lifeblood of your business. Now, I'm not saying that you need to you need to talk about and share every single one of your experiences and every single one of your kind of feelings and beliefs and kind of put it all out there. But you want to be completely owning it and claiming it all for yourself and acknowledging it for yourself. And certainly there is power in sharing an element of this as well, you know, parts of your shadow, because that, when we do that, this is what creates really compelling connection. But whether, you know, you're sharing it or you're just doing this for yourself, you're doing this work for yourself, the reason it becomes the lifeblood of your business is it makes you feel fully alive. And very often I would speak to women and they'll say, you know, I just don't feel fully alive. I've kind of lost myself. And it feels like they're living a kind of half-life. And the reason for this is because we're pushing away half of ourselves a lot of the time. It's like, oh, you know, I can deal with all of this stuff that feels like it's going to be approved of by others, that feels like it's okay, it's nice, but I can't deal with all of this other stuff that we've been told is kind of crazy, or that we're being too emotional, or that we're not making sense. We want to bring all of this, the bits of you that feel that they don't make sense, this is what is going to be most compelling to others. It's going to be most compelling to your complete soulmate clients. Okay. So how do you do what you truly love and make great money without selling your soul? Let's just summarize some of the points that I've been talking about. Okay, so you want to not get stuck in the clarity myth, really commit to learning through doing. Okay, so you gain clarity through doing. So you adopt this attitude of experimentation. You allow yourself to try things out. And know that you're carving the path as you go. Don't expect it to be all mapped out in front of you. You know, allow yourself to try things out. They may not work. It's all information. Focus on what turns you on. Okay. So rather than kind of looking over there and trying to figure out, okay, well, what might they want? And, you know, what price should I charge for this? And trying to second guess everything, come back to yourself and start with what turns you on. Commit to alchemizing your money shadow. So this is a practice. What I mean by that is something to be done continually. Then whenever you're going to another level, or you're creating some kind of new offering, or, you know, doing something different in your business, you want to be noticing what's coming up for you there. And the more you do this, the more you invite your shadow into the light, the easier it will be to kind of recognize what's coming up for you. You want to move into your gift zone. Okay, so all of these elements I'm talking about, they're going to take you towards your gift zone and into your gift zone. This can be, well, it can be really clear if you're operating kind of miles away from your gift zone. Maybe you are, you know, you have been stuck in a job that doesn't light you up, or, you know, it's felt like you've got no clue whatsoever what you want to do. If that's the case, then you can kind of celebrate, because it's really clear, and you're in this place where it's clear that you do want to do things differently. So you'll be able to make great leaps towards your gift zone. But it can be much more subtle. It's like you can be right on the edge of your gift. You can be tapping on the window, trying to get in, but you're not quite in it. And if you're not quite in it, the way you'll know is that things just feel difficult for you. It's difficult to kind of create good money and attract regular clients, because, you know, and things just don't work as well as you feel they should, because you're not quite within your gift zone. So, I mean, really, when you start with what turns you on and begin trying things out, and begin to alchemize your shadow, not just your money shadow, but, you know, your full shadow, then this is all going to help you move into your gift zone. You really want to be bringing it all. You don't want to be kind of thinking about what's acceptable, what's nice, what will people like, what will people think of me. So this isn't particularly easy. Like everything on the unbound path, it's not all like, oh, okay, that's great, yeah, I'll just bring my full self to everything I do, yeah, no problem. Because very often we don't know what our full self is. We don't know what the all is. So that's why we do need to have this practice of really coming back to ourselves and giving ourselves permission to bring that to everything we do. And you want to commit. You want to commit to actually being able to do what you love and making really good money doing it. Okay, what I mean by commit is you want to make the time to do that. You want to choose to focus on your business, and it is a choice. And like I said, this sense of urgency that we're experiencing at the moment, I think it makes it easier to make this commitment. And what I say here is to focus on your genius, and your genius it's not up in your mind. It doesn't, you know, you don't connect with it by trying to figure it all out. It's always about coming back into your body. That is where your genius lies. So I want to make an invitation to you. I've talked about quite a lot there, and kind of given you this overview of things that may have been preventing you from really living in your gift, and how to start more fully being in your gift and being well paid for it. But I want to invite you into a specific container of support that I've put together for you at this time, which is called Live Your Gift Appropriately. So it's designed to help you really move into your gift zone and get well paid for it. So most of my containers that support are longer term containers, which tend to be like really deep dive containers, at least 3 months, quite often longer. Whereas this, it's a 5-week process. It's, you know, down and dirty. It's fast and focused. It's very much action oriented. Okay, so we will be kind of doing some reflection, and we will be doing some deeper work during it. But it's very much, this is not a process that you come into and you just sit back and do some journaling and we get to the end of the 5 weeks and you haven't taken any action. This is only for you if you're ready to be in action during this 5-week period. And when I'm talking about action, it's really inspired action. It's not action for the sake of it. So what you're going to do is you're really going to learn through doing. So week 1, we're going to look at what turns you on. Because a lot of us have lost touch with what turns us on. We've lost touch with what our true gift is, because we have been operating from head level. So we're really going to come back into the body and tune into, you know, what is lighting you up, what gets you excited. Week 2, we're going to be focusing on alchemizing your money shadow. So bringing into the light all of this stuff that's been like pushed away or repressed, that has been holding you back, all of these old beliefs, patterns, and stories that you've been telling yourself unconsciously that have been stopping you from making the money that you want to. Week 3, we're going to focus on offerings and pricing. This really does what it says on the tin. So we're really going to be tuning into, okay, what do you want to offer? How do you want to offer it? Getting really clear on that, and also setting prices that feel good for you, feel amazing for you, and attract more of your clients. I've got a specific process that I guide you through around that. Week 4 is bring it, and this is about compelling visibility. So bringing all of yourself to your business, to whatever you're sharing, to, you know, sharing the most compelling content in the most compelling way, being in the right places, you know, and doing all of this in a way that feels really good for you. And week 5 is a question mark, because week 5 is open. What I'm going to do in week 5 is I'm going to put together a specific training for you, and that will be tailored towards whatever has come up during the previous 4 weeks. So I'll get a sense of whatever's been coming up for you as a group and individually, and put something specific together for you, which is going to help you in the most powerful way. So, you know, what I'm recommending with Live Your Gift is, you know, whether you're completely new in your business, maybe you haven't started yet, maybe you are in a 9-to-5 and you don't really have any clear idea of what you want to do right now, or maybe you are more established in your business. Wherever you are, this is going to work for you. It's going to benefit you. What I'm going to recommend that you do is that you focus on one particular project, one particular offering during this 5-week experience. And, you know, during the 5 weeks, even if you haven't even got an idea of what it is right now, or maybe you have got an idea, you know, we will be, you know, putting it together, making sure that it's ready for you to be able to offer it in the most compelling way so that you can begin to make sales during this 5 weeks. So you're really going to benefit from the power of the container. What I mean by that is having this powerful container of support, having access to myself and the group of women who are actually within Live Your Gift with you. When you step into a container like this, at any time you access these higher levels of potency, and I've experienced that over and over again, you know, again, both personally and through working with clients. Whenever we make a decision to step into a container like this, sometimes just making that decision can create a massive shift in itself. But certainly when you're working within that container, like I said, you're able to be in this state of high potency, which is really what you want to be accessing as an unbound woman. So it's kind of a laboratory where you'll be experimenting and trying things out and having support whilst you're doing that. You'll receive weekly trainings and resources and exercises to work through. And this will all happen within an exclusive Facebook group. And obviously I will be in the group providing feedback to you as you go. So you'll be able to get feedback from me. And also I'll be sharing your progress and magic with my audience as you go through the process. So you'll benefit from an extra boost of visibility. And what I'm going to encourage you to do as well is that you know, all of you who are in the group will be sharing each other's work as well. So we'll create this real sense of momentum. So we start on Tuesday, April the 24th, which is next week. And this is limited to 12 women. So we're getting started really quickly. I didn't want you to have to kind of be in this place of indecision for weeks. We're getting started straight away. Your commitment is 2 hours per week. So I'm asking that you devote 2 hours per week. You can spend more time on it if you want, but if you just devote 2 hours per week, you're going to see powerful results. So that's 10 hours altogether and $150. Okay, so I wanted to make this as easy as possible for you to step into this container, because I know this is a real issue to so many women. Okay, so, you know, like I said, I wanted to make it really, really easy for you. So 2 hours per week, $150. There's no sales page for this. So if you're feeling the call to be part of it, all you need to do is send me a message, either on Facebook or an email. I'll send you the link, the PayPal link to pay, and then you're in. And I will send you the link to the Facebook group over the weekend, and we'll get started on Tuesday. Like I said, it is limited to 12 women. And, you know, you're the first ones to be receiving this offer. I'll be sending it out to my list tomorrow. So if you want to be part of this, you know, and we're starting next week, and you'll know if this is right for you. So, you know, unmade decisions are one of the most draining things for our energy. So if you want to be part of this, reach out to me as soon as you can, and let's get you a space and live your gift. Okay. So we're going to move into Q&A, and I'm trying to position my mouse so I can stop the share. So let's just going to unmute you. In case. Oh, have you got any questions at all?
Yeah, one of the big ones that came up, you're talking about embracing our shadow sides.
Yeah.
And I've heard about that a lot. You know, I know what it is. How do we find it? You know, we've all got stuff. I know we've all got stuff that we've pushed down and whatever, but how do we actually find out what those shadow things are in order to be able to bring them up?
Yeah, that's a great question. Great question, Dawn. There's lots of different ways of doing this. The key way that I recommend doing it, because a lot of my work is focused on the body, and I think we're able to access a lot of the stuff that's unconscious to us, a lot of the stuff that's in our shadow through the body. So whenever we're thinking about a particular issue, maybe you're thinking about, okay, what's stopping me from moving forwards in my business in the most powerful way? You ask that question, and consciously, you know, you could do some journaling and see what comes up for you. What I find very powerful as well is ask that question, and then just come into your body and notice what physical sensations you're aware of. Okay. Then go to, you know, whatever part of your body that you're called to. So maybe you feel kind of a gripping feeling in your stomach, for example, when you ask that question. So you tune into that sensation. And you ask, you know, if this feeling, if this gripping feeling were an emotion, what would it be? Okay, so maybe it's sadness, maybe it's frustration, maybe it's anger, maybe it's grief, you know, whatever it is. And then you ask yourself, well, when did I first experience this particular feeling of kind of sadness? Or what is a more direct way of doing it can be like, well, what belief is this emotion connected to? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's a really quick way of describing that process. But rather than trying to figure out, think, oh, what's in my shadow?
Yeah, because that doesn't work.
No, well, it can. You know, you can access a certain level through doing that. But when we come into the body, we get to access what's going. Have that sense of immediacy, like what's going on right now. Your body will tell you straight away. So you come into that. You notice that sensation. What's that emotion? Like I said, you can ask, when did I first experience this, and see what comes up. It may be a particular memory, and then you can like do some work with that memory. You know, what was going on there? What decision did I make about myself and my place in the world at that time? You know, if you want to take it to a deeper level, you can simply ask, you know, what belief is this emotion connected to? And different things will come up all the time. So, you know, you might ask that question on one day and you'll get kind of like some sadness or a sense of loss, and at other times you might get an anger. Very often, you know, I find with myself and with clients, you know, there'll be stuff in the throat going on about expression. You know, there are all these different aspects to it, but I pretty much always start with the body, because that gives us the most powerful information that we need at that time. Is that helpful?
It does, yes, thank you. Yeah,
Fantastic.
very helpful.
Thanks, Dawn. Thank you. Okay, well, if you are watching the recording and you have any questions that have come up during this, send them across to me, again, either through Facebook or on email. And obviously, if you want to be part of Live Your Gift, let me know and we'll get you into that. Thank you so much for being here today. And, you know, if you're watching the recording, thank you for making time for doing that, because it's so important that you kind of step up and step into your gift at the moment. The world really needs it. So I honour you for being on the Unbound path with me, and I'll see you again soon.